Hello everyone, hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we explore a decision that could rewrite a child's future. A woman appears claiming to be Nye's grandmother, truth tangled in burned records, missing papers, and one brave question from Nye: can we go slow? We'll follow Diep through official checks, a tense face-to-face, and a fragile plan held by a kite string. If this story resonates, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next chapters. The eatery hums. Grill smoke threads the air, and ice in an orange glass clinks like a small bell. In the corner, away from bright chatter, Ly Tu Diep leans toward her friend. Someone came, she says. She says she's Nye's grandmother. The words leave a taste she doesn't like. She steadies the glass with both hands. Her eyes try to be calm and fail. After all this time, her friend asks, "I don't know her," Diep says. "I don't know what she wants. What if she isn't family at all?" The question lands between them and does not move. The aroma of grilled meat lingers. A radio hisses in the kitchen. The room feels heavier, like rain before it falls. They talk about absence, about years with no calls, no blankets tucked under a small chin. They talk about sudden returns and stories that do not add up. Her friend frowns, counting the gaps in the woman's timeline. "If she's genuine, there will be records," he says. "If she isn't, there will be silence." "Nye's happiness comes first," she says. Her voice shakes, then finds a level place. "And her opinion matters. I won't let anyone make her a parcel to pass around." Sunlight slides across the table. It catches the tremor at her mouth and the resolve in her jaw. The chatter blurs. Fear and duty sit beside them like two quiet guests. Between them, a vow begins to take shape. They choose help that carries weight. Mr. Ly knows the channels, the phones that answer. He can verify names and histories. He can tell a claim from a fact. They settle the bill and rise. The door's bell rings. The office is small and bright, the lights too harsh. Files sit in neat stacks. A fan ticks. Mr. Ly greets them with the practiced warmth of someone who remembers kindness. Comrade Duke stands nearby, sleeves rolled, practical and steady. They sit. Diep tells the story again, careful with each detail, as if the way she places words might guard the child behind them. Her voice stays even, but worry thins it at the edges. She offers the phone number the woman gave. She offers dates. She does not offer Nye's hope to anyone. 1 or 2 days, Mr. Ly says, pen moving. The scratch on paper is the sound of something being built. "We will confirm identity and family line." He asks a few questions that show where seams might be. He does not promise more than he can deliver. Under the table, a hand finds her hand. Her friend's thumb presses once, a small signal. "I am here." A breath leaves her. It does not fix anything, but it makes space inside the chest. Through the window, clouds drift. Truth moves at its own pace. It asks for patience and pays in clarity, not comfort. "Stay for lunch," Mr. Ly offers. Diep thanks him and stands. Home is where the child is. That is where she will go. On the ride back, the city makes its regular noises. Motorbikes braid the lanes. A vendor calls dragon fruit and laughs. She thinks of the bath, of warm water loosening a child's shoulders, of little feet finding balance on tile. She thinks of the question that will come if the woman is real. She thinks of the question that will come if the woman is not. Either way, she will be steady. Evening opens. In the bathroom, steam blooms against a strip of golden light. Nye sits in the tub, hair slicked back, cheeks shining. The sound she makes when she laughs is round and bright. Diep's fingers work soap through tiny circles. "Do you like it?" she asks. The answer is a nod that becomes a dance. In the kitchen, rice clicks against the pot. James steps through the door. "Uncle James!" Ly sings, arms up, water rippling. His grin comes quick. Mrs. Huyen appears with a scarf at her neck and worry gone from her face. "You look better," she says to Diep, and it is true. Health is not loud. It creeps back as colour. It shows in the way shoulders rest. They eat. The table holds bowls and the easier weight of talk. James teases and Ly squeals. Mrs. Huyen adds a spoon of soup to a small bowl with the skill of 1,000 such gestures. Diep watches and lets her breath slow. Her gaze keeps returning to the child like checking a lighthouse. The future is not solved, but the room feels whole. They talk about the farm, about rows that need mending and fences that ask for patience more than nails. James suggests a visit. The idea lands like a green shoot between plates. Ly claps once, then pretends she did not. Later, when the dishes dry on their backs like sunning turtles, Diep smooths damp hair from a small forehead. The golden light rests on both of them. "We'll be okay," she says, mostly to herself. But the room seems to nod. Worry lingers at the edges. But something else stands in the center, a promise to choose the child's joy when choices press in. Night gathers. Outside, a motorbike coughs and quiets. Inside, small breaths even out. She sits with the phone. If it rings, she will answer. If it doesn't, she will still be ready. The vow from the eatery has grown legs. It walks the rooms with her. It checks the locks without rattling them. It listens for the child and smiles when it hears only sleep. When she lies down, the ceiling holds a soft square of streetlight. Her mind runs its circuits, then slows. She pictures the woman's face. She pictures papers on a desk. She pictures Ny's hands making boats out of lettuce leaves in the sink. In one picture, fear talks too loudly. In another, duty answers. Between them is a narrow bridge. She is already crossing it. The night breaks on the second ring. "Hello?" Diep sits up. Streetlight lays a pale ladder on the wall. The phone hums. "It's me," a friend whispers. "Mr. Ly called. He has something." The house is quiet. In the next room, Ny sleeps. Diep listens. "Two paths," her friend says. The woman may be family, but there are gaps. A name changed, a village burned, papers lost in the flood year. He needs one more piece. What piece? "A meeting," he says. "At the office? Safeguards on, documents checked in real time, questions only truth can answer." She nods into the dark. Fear will not choose. Morning arrives soft. Tea and rice steam in the kitchen. Ny pads in, hair wild. "Today farm?" "Soon," Diep says, smoothing her cheek. "Today we are brave." She kneels. "Someone says she is your grandmother. We will listen. You can tell me how it feels inside." Ny studies her face, then nods and hugs her. A simple answer with weight. They reach the office early. Same harsh light, less sting, forms and a stamp on the table. Comrade Juk checks the recorder. "For clarity," he says. The red light blinks. The door opens. A woman enters with the posture of someone ready to be measured. Lines map her face. A cloth bag hangs from her shoulder. Her eyes flick to Ny and back. "I am Ny's grandmother," she says. "I hope I am who I say." The word mother shifts to an edge inside Diep. She holds the line, Ny first. They sit. The recorder blinks. No one speaks. A pen clicks once. Questions step across the river. Names, dates, a kettle scar on a left hand. The midwife who hummed a tune only that Hamlet knew. The grandmother answers without rush. When she does not know, she says so. When asked for proof, she opens the bag. Papers spread, some crisp, some frayed from too much touching. A photograph slides out. A young woman with a baby wrapped in star-printed cloth, gaze tired and fierce. From the bag, a small scarf, faint pomelo leaf smell. She slept to this scent, the grandmother says. What happened? Diep asks. Fires, the grandmother says. A quarrel turned storm. Some left, some were carried. Some waited under ash roofs. I searched. Years swallowed trails. Then a rumor, a name, a school record that made my heart sit up. I feared the answer, but I came. The room holds its breath. This is the hinge. May we ask the child a few gentle questions? Mr. Ly says. Only if she wants to, Diep answers. She turns. And do you want to talk, Ly? Ny's shoes don't reach the floor. She lifts her chin. Ly sits straight, small hands folded. Okay, she says. She answers simple things. A favorite bowl. The song she hums when she is nervous. A dream about a fig tree. When asked about Grandma, she tilts her head. I don't know you yet, she tells the woman. But I am not scared. She glances at Diep. Can we be slow? The knot loosens. That is what we will be, Diep says. Protocols do their work. Numbers called. Names checked against registries that survived the flood year. The recorder blinks. Pens scratch. No fireworks. Only significance. Quiet as dew. At lunch, someone brings bowls. The rice is ordinary and perfect. The grandmother eats little. I did not come to take, she says. I came so truth could sit with us. If I am family, I will be it carefully. If I am not, I will leave my blessing and go. Afternoon sifts down. Answers arrive like cautious birds. A midwife's ledger, a changed name in a church book. A neighbor by phone who remembers a girl with star-printed cloth. The picture on the table seems to gain weight. It leans toward yes, Mr. Ly says. Not final, probable, promising. One record remains, but you can begin kindly. No fireworks, just a door unlocking by a finger width. The breath that leaves Diep is acceptance of a harder path that still feels right. She turns to Ly. We can meet again, she says. In a park, daylight, games, no questions. Slowly, like you asked. Ly brightens. With a kite, she says. She looks at the grandmother. You can hold the string too, but I don't like it when grown-ups pull hard. The rule lands. Everyone agrees. Gold edges the day. Papers are gathered. Hands shake with care. On the way home, the city looks softer. James is at the door, sleeves rolled, the question in his eyebrows unspoken. Mrs. Huyen offers tea. They listen. They do not interrupt. When the kite enters the story, something unclenches. So we do this in steps, James says. Step 1, park. Step 2, farm. He sketches a tiny map on a napkin. Evening warms. At the table, the talk is light, by design. Soup, rice, and an apple cut into moons. Ly leans on Diep's shoulder, heavy in the happy way of children, after a day of big feelings. Later in the doorway, James asks the question, waiting at the edge. Are you okay? I think so, she says. I think I can be. She looks toward Ny's room, where one hand lies open like a starfish on the pillow. Maybe a family isn't a house with one key. Maybe it's a house with many keys if we learn how to knock. Lights stay low, the farm waits. Morning again. They stand on the field where Rose will be. The air smells like clean earth and the promise that work offers to those who take it. Ly runs ahead. with the folded kite. James carries posts. Mrs. Huyen hums something old. Diep presses her palm to the ground. "We build," she says, "not just fences." Her phone vibrates. A final note from Mr. Lee. The last ledger arrived. The name matches. The circle, imperfect but real, closes. She looks at the horizon, then at the child, then at the thin blue sky. "We go slow," she says, smiling. "We go true." The kite opens like a small flag. When it rises, it does not pull hard. The string burns her finger, a thin, bright line. She loosens just enough, and the kite finds its own wind. It rides the wind and points forward, and every hand on the line feels the same gentle tug toward the next right thing. After a quiet dinner rush, Ly Tu Diep confides to a friend. A woman has appeared claiming to be Nye's grandmother. Doubt rises, but Diep anchors to one rule. Nye's happiness and voice come first. They ask Mr. Lee to verify the claim. At the office, under fluorescent light and a running recorder, the grandmother presents papers and a photo explaining years lost to fire, flight, and floods. Gentle questions follow. Nye answers bravely and asks for one condition. "Can we be slow?" Evidence accumulates. Ledgers, a church book, a neighbor's memory, pointing toward kinship, pending one final record. The family chooses a careful path, a park meeting, games, and a kite shared without anyone pulling too hard. Back home and later on the farm, hope returns. A final message confirms the match. They move forward slowly, and truth holds for Nye's future.